Good morning and welcome back to our Facebook Lives. I was going to say it's great to see everyone, but I actually can't see anyone. I'm not sure if you can see behind me, but the wind is crazy here in the Comox Valley. It looks like the rain has stopped, thank goodness. So today we are talking about personal resiliency and caregiving, and really we sort of talked about in life, especially in today's time of continued uncertainty. This is part 2 of our topic, and so you can find part 1 in the comments or on our website. I think we're going to be linking down below. So yeah, great to be here back again. Just thought I would first sort of talk about the idea of what we talked about in part 1 very, very briefly. So this idea of how we bounce back, best describes sort of this idea of resilience and the questions we want to ask ourselves as caregivers. What gives us the strength to continue, and how can we improve our ability to continue bouncing back from little setbacks or challenges, or in fact difficult conversations or diagnoses or prognosis. So that's what we touched on in the first half, was just kind of describing resilience, what it means, and what the different domains were. And we talked a bit about Anita, and Anita was a caregiver that had called the caregiver support line, and she is caring for her mom, who has Alzheimer's. She currently, lives in assisted living. There's some, challenges, of course, with COVID-19, and she lives over 2 hours away by car. And so just how Anita's been feeling. She's been having her own challenges around balancing her role as a caregiver and caring for her 9-year-old daughter. She works full time. She wants to be strong for herself and for her mom, but she also really worries about her mom's safety, and finds it can take up a lot of her time. She also really finds it hard to sort of manage the energy between going from one role to the next. And this idea too of the emotional energy that's being required, just to help manage all of those pieces. So for her, she talks about every time something goes wrong, whatever that is and whatever that means to her, seems to really present more stress and feelings of being overwhelmed. So from 2 weeks ago, we talked about the aspects of resilience, and just that there's the physical aspects of being resilient, the emotional, mental, and spiritual, and we touched on what those look like when one feels that they're in a good space and they have good balance between those different domains. Today we're going to talk a bit more about strategies to build our resilience or maintain our resilience. So one of the, and in our flip book, actually, what I'd say is we go through those domains and we have, the following strategies as well. They're a little bit different. We like to mix things up a little bit and make sure we aren't, repeating the same, content all the time. So one of the ways to build resilience is this idea of being curious about our role as caregivers. And so that, comes back around sort of asking these questions about, what's working, what isn't working, to try different things and to see how that works. The other day I had a call with a caregiver, and we were talking about this concern about, everything's okay right now with my mom, but I worry about the day that, she might start to wander, or that we can no longer, keep her in our own home. And so some of the strategies we've talked about was sort of experimenting around, are there any digital tools that they can use to help, monitor the situation, or are there ways that their mom can, use an automated, medication machine. So just experimenting with different ways, and then reflecting on that experience. That's often one of the big things around resilience, is this idea of what have you learned, or have you learned something new from your caregiving role? So sometimes we go through a difficult time, we try to apply this strategy or an intervention or a new way of doing things, And then in a way we're sort of, we're evaluating, well, how did that go? What worked well? What did we learn from this? And what are we going to bring forward? So this idea of the next time that happens, I will. And that's a real large component of building personal resilience, the idea to sort of commit to this sense of learning throughout the caregiving process. So other strategies to build resilience. So our support systems are really key to this, and probably even more now in our current time with COVID-19. So really knowing who's in your corner and who can help with what. And what do we have in terms of friends, family, and neighbors, or other support groups? It could be a peer support group. It could be disease specific, or through our general family caregiver of BC, some of our virtual support groups. Talking with others generally diminishes the impact of challenging situations, and it also increases our personal feelings that we've got this, or will often be quite validated in how we're feeling. And other caregivers or other individuals often have some ideas that might help support us in our situation. One of the other really key strategies is trying to stay or be flexible. It's often one of the more important coping mechanisms for during this period of ever-changing environment right now, and that's what we're seeing, is that the environment is changing so much. With how the person that we're dealing with is managing or coping with their illness or disease, how we're coping as a caregiver, and how the world is in flux or changing. And this idea of trying to be flexible, to understand that there are certain things we have control over and there's things that we don't have control over, and knowing that in order for us to be able to respond or maintain a sense of a stability for ourselves, that often being flexible and open is going to be something really critical for us moving forward. One of the common things that we hear around from caregivers is this idea of worry and anxiety. Worry about that things are going to get worse, or they're worried about the person they're caring for in that lives far away or is in long-term care. They're not sure what to do, or that person is having their own challenges with their mental health challenges. They're worried about a diagnosis that they're waiting for. And so I love the idea of the concept of we worry for 1 hour during the day, and you get to pick that time, and that's kind of your worry hour. Now, that doesn't work for everyone. For some people, though, it's often really helpful to know, okay, I can't worry about this right now. I'm gonna focus and have my worry hour, and that's where I'm either going to just worry about things, think about things, this idea of what the worst case scenario, and if that hit, what would be my plan. Another great tool that is getting a little more traction. It's always been a great tool. I think now it's we're seeing a bit more coming to the forefront, is this idea of journaling. And it's not for everyone again. Strategies to think about this idea of getting your thoughts on paper. Family Caregivers of BC has an online journaling workshop, and we'll make sure we have the link to that resource as well. And I think the other piece too is talking out loud through a process or a scenario can be really helpful. And so that can be with a friend, a trusted resource. That's often this idea of caregiver coaching. Sometimes one of the greatest benefits that we hear from caregivers is that they can just talk out loud through the process, have a sounding board. Now, if you don't have access to that, I find myself talking out loud quite a bit through some of the challenges that I have. Even if there isn't anyone there to listen, it's often a great way for me to process information. So for some of us, maybe it's more writing. For some of us, it might be wanting this feedback with a friend or a resource, and for others, it just might be actually talking through with someone on the other end of the line, or out for a socially distant walk, and just to be able to have someone support us through that process. So those are some ideas around managing the worry and potentially some of the overwhelm or the anxiety piece that can come through very difficult times. Another area that I think we tend to maybe spend less time on, but is also equally important, is in a way to really know our strengths and to celebrate our strengths. We all have, I think, these incredible strengths as individuals and as caregivers. And so the more we see ourselves in a positive light, the more that we can self-talk and tell ourselves that, we've got this, believing in our abilities, it can really help us bounce back from stress and challenging situations. And so it's really acknowledging ourselves as our own superhero, so to speak, putting on our cape and knowing that, that we've got these challenges, or that, if this happens, we know we can respond this way. It's one of our strengths. And so spending some time nurturing ourselves and our strengths. One of the things that we hear from family caregivers is this idea that of acceptance and change. And one caregiver, I think, really summed it up quite nicely. And what they said was, resilient caregivers, they accept circumstances that can't be changed. And then they turn their attention to what circumstances can be changed and focus on them. And I think that's a really helpful strategy to understand that there's going to be some acceptance and some having to let go of certain expectations. And perhaps that's also very relevant right now as we head into the holidays and head into a time where things are not going to be the same as they once were. And knowing that this idea of managing expectations and what's going to be realistic, and knowing that there's going to be some changes, can also help keep us resilient through the foreseeable future. Some of the other strategies that we've read about and that are listed in the flip book, and actually on some other at the end of the Facebook Live, we're going to have a list of some resources. There's a really great website called Option B, which I'm really fond of, and it has some really great strategies and just good resources and check-ins around personal resilience. So this idea of expressing our feelings, that in fact it's actually really important for us to hold space for painful and negative ones. I think sometimes people think these positive, optimistic individuals, or when we speak to people and they're showing gratitude, that those individuals live in this optimum positive world, and that might be largely true, but those individuals likely have these moments of where they are feeling negative and feel like they've lost a bit of hope around a situation. So this idea of accepting or acknowledging that the life we have right now is imperfect, and to hold space and to give ourselves comfort in the face of those difficult times, and that's where that self-compassion piece is really important. And then yet, what informs us as well through the research and other individuals that write about personal resilience is this idea that it's important not to stay too long with those negative thoughts and work towards this idea of long-term, perspective of positivity. And that can be, that can just be in the day. What's your one win for the day? That's often something that I try to apply on my own personal level, especially when it seems like the day has just unraveled and nothing has gone right. And I think, what's one win of the day? It could be as simple as, I got myself up and out the door, and, I wasn't late for any appointments. Everything else may have unraveled, or, we managed to eat, well today, for 75% of the day, and didn't go to, other shortcuts. We looked after that part of ourselves. To larger wins, right? Oh, we found this new method of, managing a difficult behavior, and it's working really well. The other piece around strategies around personal, resilience is this idea of simply because we're caregiving and we're giving energy towards that role. Sometimes people feel like that's just sort of this given role, but in fact, creating meaning in our caregiving role, this idea of mastery of something, or increasing our confidence, or having this real purpose in our role as in someone's life, or as their advocate, or as their companion, caregiver, case manager. It really adds to our overall positive health. This idea that what we're doing is really purposeful and meaningful work. So for some, it's knowing that they're strengthening the relationship between themselves and the person they're caring for, or they're giving back to that person. For others, caregiving can fulfill this sense of a greater purpose in life, taking a lot of really good pride in our skills, or a desire for a better outcome for the person that's requiring support. So what we do know is that resilient people have the ability to be transformed by their experiences. And so when our current caregiving situation hands us a challenge that we didn't necessarily want, we also know that we're never going to be the same again. And this idea of resilience is to strive to emerge strengthened, by this experience, and through that continual experience. That really sort of sums up this idea of how resiliency can also help transform us as individuals. So some resources, which I think we're going to be listing in the comments below. I'm just going to quickly review some of them. There's a really great program it's called Bounce Back BC. It offers support to adults and young adults to maintain strong emotional and mental health. And that they can be done through coaching, these online modules and videos. And so they're at bouncebackbc.ca. You can self-refer. If you've got a primary care provider, you can go through that avenue too. So the website has some really great information on that. I had mentioned option B, which is it's a site that's dedicated to helping build resilience in the face of adversity. It's a great site. I really enjoy. It's one of my go-to sites, just for my own self as a caregiver coach and as a person. Huddle is a really great site that helps bring people and caregivers together to share their experiences. It's a platform, and it's a community dedicated to our overall well-being, and you can exchange sort of exchange your stories or reach out to professionals that provide online support, and they have dedicated groups around particular topics, and so you can learn from others through that platform. We like to also talk about the Canadian Virtual Hospice, and they provide support and personalized information about palliative and end-of-life care to patients, family members, and healthcare providers. And finally, the caregiver space is a very safe and open space where caregivers across North America can really exchange information and receive support around caring for individuals with serious disabilities and illnesses. It's a place for caregivers to ask questions, share experiences, to get to get answers, or to get things off their chest. So that's another space that is available as well. So next month, we're actually going to focus on caregiving and the holiday season. And I think we're only doing one Facebook Live next month. And just a reminder on where to find more support and resources. Our caregiver support line's available Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And of course, we can support you based on your current situation and help bring awareness into your situation. We'll listen to you, we'll suggest ideas, we'll provide resources. We can also refer you into one or more of our virtual support groups, or our coaching service. We've got our podcast, so you can find that on our website. It's always linked to our e-news and social media. Sign up for our newsletter. You can head over to our resource section of the website. And just to remember that Family Caregivers of BC can help. Everyone at FCBC is or has been a family caregiver, and we're always trying to be reminded about our personal resiliency too. In our weekly team meetings, we often talk about, how are we looking after ourselves as well, and we gain that support from our team as well. And so hopefully we can continue to share some of our strategies that work for us, but also what our readings show us and all the different resources that are currently available. So thank you very much for joining me this morning, Alistair. Really glad that today was helpful. Thank you for being here, and we hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in December. Okay, bye for now.